I can sing one bhajan.
Yeah.
Okay. भज गौरांगो कहो गौरांगो लहो गौरांगेरो नाम रे भज गौरांगो कहो गौरांगो लहो गौरांगेरो नाम रे जय जना गौरांगो भजे से होया আমার প্রাণ রে जय जना गौरांग भजे से होया আমার প্রাণ রে भज गौरांग कहो गौरांग लहो गौरांगेर नाम रे गौरांग बोलिया दो बाहु तुलिया नाचिया नाचिया बेदारे गौरांग बोलिया दो बाहु तुलिया नाचिया नाचिया बेदारे भज गौरांग कहो गौरांग लहो गौरांगेर नाम रे गौरांग भजिले गौरांग जपिले हाय दुखेरा अवसान रे गौरांग भजिले गौरांग जपिले हाय दुखेरा अवसान रे भज गौरांग कहो गौरांग लहो गौरांगेर नाम रे जय जना गौरांग भजे से होया আমার প্রাণ রে হরে কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে হরে हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Translation. Worship Lord Gauranga, chant Gauranga, speak about Lord Gauranga only. Those who worship Lord Gauranga is indeed my life and soul. Chanting Gauranga, go out with your arms raised, dancing and dancing. By chanting Gauranga and worshipping him, one's miseries will end. And Lord Nityananda Prabhu originally chanted the refrain of this song.
Very nice. Okay. Anything else? Maybe we'd like to say anything. Okay, so we'll read Srimad Bhagavatam. We are on Canto 3, Chapter 12, verse 43, Creation of the Kumaras and Others. So, it's describing Varnashram, right? And how Brahma's sons came, the Vedas came. Maitreya Muni is describing. So, continuing that. Vaikhanasa valakhilau dumbharaha fenapavane न्यासे कुटिचका पूर्वम bahavodo hansa nishkriyo. The four divisions of retired life are Vaikhanasas, Valakhlias, Autamburas, and Phenapas. The four divisions of the renounced order of life are Kutichak, Bahavodas, Hansas, and Nishkriyas. All these were manifested from Brahma. The Varnashram Dharma, or the institution of the four divisions and orders of social and spiritual life, is not a new invention of the modern age. as proposed by the less intelligent. It is an institution established by Brahma from the beginning of creation. It is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 4:13. Chaturvarnyam maya shrishtam. Okay. So Krishna has created this four divisions, four varnas. Shrishti means creation. Maya means by me, they have been created by me. Okay, sometimes they say this is like the caste system. And India is considered like not very advanced because it believes in the caste system. But these castes are everywhere. There is intellectual class, there is administrative class, there is business class, agricultural class, there is laborer class. So that's everywhere. Okay. I don't know what this means. Vaikhanasas, Valakhilias, Audambaras, and Phenabas. They are the four divisions of retired life. We have heard about the four divisions of renounced rod of life: Kutichak, Bahudak, Parivrajacharya, and Paramhamsa. Like that. So maybe they are related to this. All the names are different. Somebody like to explain what is Kutichak and what is Bahudak and what is Parivrajacharya and what is Paramhamsa?
Kutichak is when he makes a kutya. And others are giving him something to eat.
Correct. Yeah, he has left his home, but he has made a cottage outside his village, and he's getting some still his maintenance from his home. So Kutia, correct. And then Bahudak.
I don't remember.
Bahudak means he will say he will not depend on his home, but he will do Madhukari in his village around. Bahu means many. He will get his fulfillment from many homes, not only one. And then he thinks, why am I just confined to my little village or something? I should go, I should travel. Then he becomes Parivrajaka. I'll just depend on the Lord, I'll travel. I'll preach. And Krishna will provide. Like Madhvendra Puri, right? He was traveling. And then when he becomes very advanced, then he just sits down in one place as Paramhamsa. He may do Nirjan Bhajan, just like that.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I think in Kutichak, he's not begging, right?
Yeah, he's not begging, but
because he's not practiced to beg the daughter. And the second one is started begging from door to door because he's practicing. Okay.
Yeah, Kutichak, he's getting his needs from his former household life, wherever he was. The family members are giving him. Like Raghunath Das Goswami, right? His father and mother were sending money. And he was feeding all the Vaishnavas with that money. And then he was thinking, why should I take money from my father and mother? What was the exact reason he was thinking?
What was the reason that he did not want to take?
Correct.
Yeah, because they were material. They were not pure devotees. They were materialistic people, and whoever, And he was saying that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was accepting his feast, but like out of respect, but internally he didn't want to because the money was coming from materialistic activities. One gets contaminated if they use money, from this.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, he's also thinking, why should I depend on my house? I will travel and get from everybody. Like a bee collects. That's what the Avadut Brahmana learned from the bee, that bee will collect little honey from each flower. In this way, the bee will not get attached to one particular flower. So you
They don't stay in a place more than the time it takes to milk the cow.
cow. Because then they will get attached to a particular house, like Raghunath Das Goswami was also thinking. Of course, he was getting from many, standing at Sinhadwar, and then he was thinking, but he was thinking, oh, this person will give me now this person will give me. So he said, no, I don't want to do this. I'm like a prostitute. He's trying to. So he went and sat with the beggars. After that, he was sent with the beggars, right?
Yeah, correct. At the Simhadwar. And then where the free food was distributed, and then going to the place where uh, it was thrown to the cows and they would reject it and he would eat that.
Yes. Okay. So, yeah, in that renounced order of life, one depends on the Lord. And one feels that Lord will protect me. As Prabhupada writes in his purport to 16.1, Abhayam Sattvasan Shuddhir Jnana Yoga Vyavasthiti. He says these three qualities, Abhayam Sattvasan Shuddhir and Jnana Yoga Vyavasthiti are he describes those qualities for the renounced order of life. They should be very fearless. That Krishna Rakshashi Titi Vishwash. Krishna will provide, Krishna will protect. And what example he gives in that purport? That if sannyasi, even if he is where?
Even if he's alone at the middle of the forest, dark, he's not afraid.
Yeah, he should always feel that Krishna is there with me in the heart. Super soul is there, Krishna is there in my heart, should not feel afraid. So they have to feel very fearless. They have to depend on Lord completely. Yeah. So, of course, everybody is dependent on the Lord only. Without Lord, nobody can get anything. Even Grihasthas are dependent on the Lord's arrangement. Okay, next verse. Anything else? If somebody has information about these different divisions of retired life, which is Vanaprastha, I think, and then we can see. Next verse. Anvikshiki trai varta danda nitis tathaiva cha evam vyaritayas chasan pranavo hiyasya dharatah. The science of logical argument, the Vedic goals of life, law and order, moral codes, and the celebrated hymns Bhu, Bhuva, and Swa all were manifested from the mouths of Brahma, and the Pranava Omkar was manifested from his heart. Okay. It's no purport. It came from Brahma, the Omkar, from his heart. Vedic hymns came from his mouth. Okay. Thereafter, one of the arts of literary expression, Ushnik, was generated from the hairs of the body of the Almighty Prajapati. The principal Vedic hymn Gayatri was generated from the skin, Trishtup from flesh, Anushtup from veins, Jagati from the bones of the lords of the living entities. Okay. I'm just reading this because this is difficult to understand and there is no purport also. The art of writing Pankti, a certain type of verse, was manifested from the bone marrow of the Lord of living entities. The art of writing Briyati, another type of verse, was generated from his life breath. From Brahma's soul were manifested the touch consonants, from his body the vowels, from his senses the sibilants, from his strength the semi-vowels, and from his sensual activities the 7 notes of music. In Sanskrit there are 13 vowels and 35 consonants. The vowels are A, I, U, U, Re, re, le, a, o, a, o. And the consonants are ka, kha, gha, gha. Among the consonants, the first 25 letters are called the sparshas. There are also 4 antasthas. Those who are very literal, they like all this. They can analyze all these vowels and all this. I am not at all, so I don't understand so many. There are also 4 antasthas, semi-vowels, the ushmas. There are 3 called the talavya, murdhanya, and dantya. The musical notes are sare, gama, pa, dhani. All these sound vibrations are originally called Shabda Brahma or spiritual sound. It is said, therefore, that Brahma was created in the Mahakalpa as the incarnation of spiritual sound. The Vedas are spiritual sound, and therefore there is no need of material interpretation for the sound vibration of Vedic literature. The Vedas should be vibrated as they are, although they are symbolically represented with letters which are known to us materially. In the ultimate issue, there is nothing material because everything has its origin in the spiritual world. The material manifestation is therefore called illusion in the proper sense of the term. For those who are realized souls, there is nothing but spirit. So material world exists only because of our consciousness to enjoy separately from Krishna. If that consciousness disappears, goes away, then the material world is as good as spiritual world. That's what I think it's said here. Although in the material world there is matter, in the spiritual world there is no matter. So here there is matter. And matter is not spirit. So matter is dead. Whereas in spiritual world there is nothing dead. Everything is living. So it's alright. So Prabhupada says that
For the devotee, there is nothing material, right? Because he's using everything in Krishna's service. If you attach anything to Krishna, it becomes spiritual.
yes, that is their iron rod in touch with fire becomes like fire. Prabhupada gave that example. It will act like fire. That is one way to look at it. And then there is also this, like this table. Of course, you can say it's spiritual because I'm using it, but if I beat the table is not going to protest because the table is dead matter. It is not living. So that's why there is matter here also. In that way, it is not living. Although it may be used in Krishna's service, but it is not living. So from that point of view, it still remains matter. I don't know, maybe somebody. Although we say it's spiritual, spiritual means there is consciousness. There is presence of spirit, means there is thinking, feeling and willing. But the table does not think, does not feel, does not will. Whereas in the spiritual world, even if there is a table, the table can talk to you. And the table also has feelings and thinking and feeling. Everything, there is no matter in the spiritual world. That's why sometimes people ask that, when you eat, what happens to the apple? Because the apple is also a living person. And Prabhupada said, you'll find out when you go there. So, everything is, there is no matter, dead matter in the spiritual world. So, from that point of view, there is, like Krishna says, there is 2 prakritis. There is para prakriti and there is apara prakriti. Para is the superior energy, which is the jiva, and apara prakriti is everything that is made up of earth, water, fire, air, ether. So body is apara prakriti. But of course we say it becomes spiritualized because it is used in the service of the Lord. But the body itself is not feeling and thinking and willing when the spirit soul is not there. But because it was used in the service of the Lord, like for sannyasis, their body is completely spiritualized, that you don't burn the body because it is considered very, they have used it completely, fully, not for sense gratification, but for the service of Krishna. So that's why it's preserved in Samadhi. Like that also it's there. I don't know, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. That spirit and matter. That's how I think. That in spiritual world everything is conscious. Even the river is conscious. Here the river, of course, Yamuna and all that, there is personification of those rivers and you can pray to Yamuna Devi. But there is a matter and there is spirit. Correct? Is that correct or not?
Yeah, I think this also it's talking about real and illusion. It's saying that all the energies are coming from Krishna, so they're real. That verse by Brahma, right? Rate artham yat pratiyata na pratiyata.
Yes, correct.
What appears to be of any value if it's without relationship to Krishna. Oh no, it's not by Brahma, it's by Krishna in the Chatur Shloka.
But yes.
It has no reality and know it to be Maya. If it is not in relationship to Krishna, it's Maya. Otherwise, it's
Yeah. That is why, that is, yeah, in this context, yes, Prabhupada is saying that, yeah, because it is connected, iron rod in fire is like fire. So if you, yeah, if you see it for your personal enjoyment, it is material. See it for Krishna's enjoyment, it is spiritual. Yes. So it's a matter of our consciousness, right? That means whether something is material or spiritual depends on our consciousness, on how we look at it. Thank you. Okay, so anything else I would like to say?
I have a question, Prabhuji. It is a little bit different from this purport. The Brahma is Jiva Tattva. Those who are on the heavenly planets, the demigods, their bodies are, because there is a birth and death, so their bodies are made up of these material elements.
Correct.
So, what was my question? Okay, so the Krishnas has three prominent energies: external, internal, and marginal energy. So the demigods belongs to the marginal energy, though they are under the control of which energy? Krishna's internal energy or external energy?
Okay. What is the answer? Demigods are under the control of Krishna's external energy.
Because as far as I understand that only the spiritual world, the those who are belongs to the spiritual world, they are under the control of internal energy, and rest is, but they are on the demigods. They are they don't have, like, they are in mode of goodness. Sometimes they bewildered also. We have instances, but I'm not sure that they are complete under the external energy or
So what
internal
is the
energy.
answer? Anybody like to say?
yeah, those are pure devotees who are they are under the influence of internal energy. Mahatmana Stumam Partha Devim Prakriti Mashrita Bhajante Nandamani Sugana Prabhutatamalayam. So that Devi Prakriti is Radharam Shrimati Radharam. So if they are not pure devotees, they are under the influence of Mahamaya.
Yeah, the demigods are Prabhupada's Sakama devotees. So they are not pure devotees. They are devotees with material desires.
So we can say that the pure devotees also bewildered sometimes.
Like they say,
Like Indra is a pure devotee, Brahma is a pure devotee, but sometimes they come under the influence of material modes of nature.
They are described as Sakama devotees. So Sakama means mixed devotees. With, of course, some depends on the demigod. Like we say, our Brahma is a pure devotee. Others may be mixed devotees. So, um, yeah. So based on what they are influenced by, they are either in the influence of internal energy or external energy, or sometimes under influence of external energy, sometimes under the influence of internal energy. So every moment is a choice, we say, right? We can go this way or that way. They are also Jiva Tattvas, so most of them are Jiva Tattvas. So they are also the marginal energy, means they can go on this side or this side. So just like we can sometimes, be under Maya, and sometimes we can be more Krishna conscious, like that. Is that what you're asking? I don't know.
Yes, Prabhu, I'm asking, but I'm not very much clear on that, because the pure devotees, as far as we
But they
read
are
it, the
not pure
pure
devotees.
devotees are in the mode of goodness. They are in the on the transcendental stage, like
The
thing.
demigods are
Even
not
not they
considered
are.
pure devotees. The demigods are not considered pure devotees, except for some like Lord Shiva. You say he's Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu. And sometimes
Lo-
Krishna want to teach some lesson. He uses his devotee also. That's also there. But like Brahma here, he, Brahma is pure devotee, but then he was attracted to his daughter. So, but then that's like teaching lesson also. It's Krishna uses them to teach us a lesson, and also maybe to purify the devotee if he has some attachments and like that. So that's why pure devotee worship is even higher than the demigods, because the pure devotees are above the modes of nature. Demigods are, like Prabhupada describes, the way that they are devotees of the Lord, but they have a desire to control. So they have been given a high position in Krishna's government, and Krishna is fulfilling their desire, but they also have, yeah, that's how it is understood. Okay, anything else you would like to say, or anything you have to say from the question? Is that okay?
Okay, Prabhu.
Anybody who's in the material world, unless he's a pure devotee, has material desires. That's why they have material body. Their bodies are more subtle, and they're made up of more like intelligence and subtle elements. Our bodies are made up of grosser elements like that. But they also have material body. So like that. Okay, Shabda Brahma Atmanastasya Vyakta Vyaktatmana Paraha Brahma Vabhati Vitato Nana Shaktya Upabrimitaha. Brahma is the personal representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the source of transcendental sound, and is therefore above the conception of manifested and unmanifested. Brahma is the complete form of absolute truth and is invested with multifarious energies. The post of Brahma is the highest responsible post within the universe, and it is offered to the most perfect personality of the universe. So we heard that how many? 100 lifetimes? They have to, I think, was mentioned before. Somebody has to follow the Varnashram for 100 lifetimes properly. I think Juhi had sent that, correct?
Yeah, there was a verse.
Yeah. Sometimes the Supreme Personality of Godhead has to become Brahma when there is no suitable living entity, living being to occupy the post. In the material world, Brahma is the complete representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the transcendental sound pranava comes from him. He is therefore invested with multifarious energies from which all demigods like Indra, Chandra, Varuna are manifested. His transcendental value is not to be minimized, even though he exhibited a tendency to enjoy his own daughter. There is purpose for the exhibition of such a tendency by Brahma, and is not to be condemned like an ordinary living entity. So, okay. Do you want to read the verse?
Yes, Prabhu. A person who executes his occupational duty properly for 100 births becomes qualified to occupy the post of Brahma. And if he becomes more qualified, he can approach Lord Shiva. A person who is directly surrendered to Lord Krishna or Vishnu is in unalloyed devotional service is immediately promoted to the spiritual planets. Lord Shiva and other demigods attain these planets after the destruction of this material world.
So maybe they go back. This is Lord Shiva and other demigods attain these planets. They become pure. Sometimes it is they are Sakhama devotees. Okay. What is the verse in Bhagavad Gita? Krishna says, those whose hearts have been stolen by material desires, they worship the demigods. What is the verse? But you can worship demigods for what you can worship demigods for?
Yeah, to become a pure devotee, to do more bhakti. Like even the gopis were worshipping Katyayani Devi to get Krishna as their husband.
Okay, so yeah. Thereafter, Brahma accepted another body in which sex life was not forbidden, and thus he engaged himself in the matter of further creation. In his former body, which was transcendental, affection for sex life was forbidden, and Brahma therefore had to accept another body to allow himself to be connected with sex. He thus engaged himself in the matter of creation, his former body transformed into fog as previously described. Okay, so he gave up that body, turned into fog, and then he got another body in which he was allowed to do sense gratification. So, like that, also we know we are given bodies based on our desires for sense gratification. Then Krishna gives us everything is based on desire. We say all these 8,400,000 species of life are created to satisfy the various desires of the jiva. Some jiva has a particular desire which is very strong, so he gets such a body like that to fulfill that desire. Man proposes, God disposes. Sometimes it's said like that. So Krishna is fulfilling the desires of the jiva to enjoy, and that's so basically. If we desire to go back home, back to Godhead, we'll go back home, back to Godhead. If we desire to stay in the material world and enjoy here, then we'll stay in the material world. So it's open. Whatever you desire, according to that, we get. Krishna reciprocates based on our desire.
Question, Prabhu.
Yeah.
So, as you said, man desires and Krishna disposes. Then, over here, we are entangled in several relationships as well. Parents, father, mother, child, husband, wife, and each have their own desires. At times, those desires are conflicting. At what point, do we, means either ways they are sent here to, fulfill their desires, but if the desires are not appropriate, how does one follow, when to stop, someone, because usually that's the reason of conflict. People are trying to fulfill desires, but others become hurdle, and then the relationship is sour.
Yeah, Krishna gives us, he wants to fulfill our desire. At the same time, he wants to correct us also. So things don't work out. I mean, yeah, one time we say that, yeah, Krishna wants to fulfill all our desires. That's why he has created. But especially in human life, on this planet Earth, all the desires don't get fulfilled. If you have desires, then in heavenly planets, most of the desires for enjoyment are fulfilled. But on the earth, we say like it's a mixture, like of happiness and distress, and it's a good place to go back home, back to God. So,
Actually, the question is, we, trying to aspire being a devotee.
huh?
Do we, stop someone's desire from being fulfilled, or we should just be quiet and
do
do
we
our thing?
do we stop somebody's desire from getting fulfilled? Means I
That
didn't.
it's not right, or good desire as well.
Yeah, like if you're a father and you have a child and your child wants to drink, then you say, okay, don't drink. This is going to be bad for you. Don't smoke. They have desire, but you want to stop them because you have a responsibility. But they may listen or they may not listen. Also, it's beyond your control sometimes. So every jiva has their own freedom, right? Their free will. So you can say, but whether they will listen or not, it's not up to you. So we are not the controllers. We can try, but we are not the controllers. Is that what you're asking, or what is that? Like you tell your child, no, you should
Yes,
chant.
probably. I think what you hit was the right thing. We are not the controllers.
Hmm.
What I was looking for. If we know that, then we wouldn't be as much disturbed. If someone doesn't listen to us or doesn't follow, even after trying to correct them.
Yeah, like so many devotee parents want their children to take more interest in spirituality, to chant Hare Krishna, but they are not chanting. The parents want that, but they are not doing. So what can the parents do? Because they are now adults, they are doing their own thing. So Prabhupada also wanted his wife to give up tea and maybe take initiation, I think, or take more interest in spirituality, but she was not inclined. What can he do?
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. We can, I think, carry on.
Okay. Anybody has any other comment? Okay. Like sometimes the spiritual master tells the disciple also something, but the disciple may listen or may not listen. It's up to him. So Prabhupada is saying that we should surrender to Krishna. So everybody has their, yeah, Shani want to say something.
Yes, Prabhuji. So, question follow up on that is, let's say we are not the controller, true, but we are also entangled in the relationships. And when they do something which they are not supposed to do, so we tell them, and they might listen, they might not listen. We are not the controller, so I understand that. But what do we tell ourselves that time in that kind of situations?
The same thing, that you are not the controller. You should to remind yourself, I'm not the controller. So you don't feel like everything should just happen as the way I want. Right? So you can say,
And so we just keep repeating to ourselves like, hey, that's okay. Let it happen. Whatever happens, like it's okay. Like that, Prabhuji.
Yeah, what do you want to be like? If supposing somebody is not, you want to be peaceful, right? You don't want to get agitated.
Yeah.
That's what
Because
you are
the
trying to.
angry agitation comes from basically.
Sorry, last what did you say? Yeah.
So I was saying, Prabhuji, is that's where the most of our agitation and our angriness or our distress comes from.
Correct.
Mm.
Yeah, because we are trying to control somebody and
Mm.
we want them to behave like the way we want them, or
Mm-hmm. Yes.
yeah. So then, because why that is there? Because there is some, we have whatever it may be. We are, yeah. The parents want their children to be in a certain way, and the children are not that way. Like sometimes children are Krishna conscious, the parents are a little upset about it because they don't like that the child is doing so much bhakti and chanting Hare Krishna. They want their child to lead life in a different way.
Yeah.
So that causes them to be upset. Yeah. Because they
Yeah.
think this is my child, I have control over the child. I
Mm.
I produce this child or whatever, and this is my child, and he should listen to me. But
Mm.
we don't own anything. Everybody is spirit soul owned by Krishna. So
Makes sense.
and
Yeah.
yeah, so it's like that.
No, there was a one Mataji shared one video that Anand Prabhuji or something from Juhu, Bombay.
Hmm.
He had the similar story. Like his parents was not happy that he joined Krishna consciousness. So makes sense.
Yeah, it happens. And then he may also not be happy if his children are not becoming Krishna conscious. So that's also another way. So
Mm.
so that is all this.
Okay.
I think it's designed to. It's designed. This material world is designed to make us realize that we are not the controllers. We are not the enjoyers. Krishna is the. Things don't go according to. And then, of course, we have to die, right? Who wants to die? Nobody wants to die. But
Mm-hmm.
things are happening against our will.
Mm.
What we don't like, as Prahlad Maharaj says, what we don't like is given to us, and what we like is taken away, it doesn't work. What we like, it may not work, and what we don't like is given. Old age is given, disease is given, death is given. You don't like all these things, but and then you don't like that your loved ones die, but they are separated from us, or we die, or we are separated from our loved ones. So analyzing all this, you can understand that this is a dukkhalayam.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
You can keep going. Sorry to disturb you.
No, that's okay. You can ask. Anybody else has any comments?
Yeah, and also we should know that these are all temporary relationships, only for few brief years that we are together, as the straws come together and they are separated. And everybody has to fly their own plane, meaning everybody has their own spiritual journey. So we should not be too much concerned about what others are following, what we are telling them to do or not. We should follow. We should not be impacted by others' suggestions. We know what is the correct thing to do, Krishna consciousness. So we should follow.
Nice point. Yeah, what does Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur say? If I want my eternal benefit, then I should ignore the countless voices of popular wisdom and listen to that of the realized souls. So,
But it is difficult in Grihastha life, Prabhuji. You can't ignore. You can ignore the outside the people. You can't ignore the people who are living with. I mean, sometimes
yeah,
it's difficult. Like you can say that okay, say whatever you wanna say. I'm ignoring. I mean,
it may ultimately result in a broken relationship because you want to do your thing, and that other person doesn't want to, he wants you to do something else, so that may result in a broken relationship.
I mean, there are so many things is recommended that you have to protect your sadhana. Then you can't go there, talk there, and but in a family relationship where so many relationships, comes automatically when you get married or something, then 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 it's difficult to just to ignore and just to avoid. And I mean, yes, as much as we can do, one should do, but that's what my opinion is.
Yeah, I mean, if you, because you have to maintain your family and things like that, you can't just.
I mean, either way we can be happy. I mean, if someone leaves the family, that is also not good. To leave leave your responsibilities and just do your thing. That is that's what I think. It's not appropriate to do that. And being in, we can try them to come in that consciousness, and we can pray to the Lord. And sometime I have seen that there's sometimes the circumstances comes in the other's life, and automatically by that circumstances that person inclined towards the spirituality. But yeah, we can pray, but leaving everything is not a solution. That's what I think.
Yeah, you have to battle it out.
Yeah, and as we discussed, there is nothing material for the devotee. Even performing your duties at home, it can be spiritual. It's based on your consciousness. So leaving anything is not recommended at all. And if somebody is determined to, follow Krishna consciousness, they will follow it even in the most difficult situation. No situation can stop you from thinking about Krishna, from chanting Krishna's name. Whether others take it or not, that's in their part. We should not be too much concerned about that. Yeah, we pray for them, but for ourselves, we should be fully determined that this is the right path and I have to follow the process. And nobody can stop you.
Nice. And if you do good behavior, maybe they will also change. If you are kind and caring, and then they will change also. They may change, and they also become devotees. I've seen that also. So yeah, it's like, yeah, if you're already in a family situation, then you have to deal with it because you have responsibility now. If you're not in a family situation, you have to think whether all these things I want to get into. So that's also another way to look at it. Here, I want to read this, what you were saying about how we are like nobody is related permanently. So this is from Japa book. Through intelligence and with firm determination, listen to the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So we have to chant with firm determination, intelligence. Listen, neglect the mind and its prostitute-like attempts to attract us. Make progress in devotional life. What is the significance of having proved ourselves right and someone else wrong? What is the significance of having achieved a crowning success in this world? What is the significance of again dredging up those past pains and pleasures? In 1,000 years, in even 100 years, no one alive will remember that we ever existed. Just like now it's 2023. So 1923, there were some people who were existing. They are forgotten, right? I mean, as time goes on, what is really all these things are, even our names will have been forgotten. Like in 100 years, you may have your children and they may have their children like that. Maybe they remember some generations. 200 years, the names will be forgotten also. What contribution can we make during our brief lifespan that will actually stand the test of time? It's nothing we can do really in a brief. Try viewing success and failure, pain and pleasure, significance and insignificance from the perspective of Brahma's lifetime. Since it's so small, it's like, and then from eternity. What could possibly be more important than focusing on the holy name? For us insignificant souls, nothing is more important than listen to Sri Krishna's names and learn to turn towards it. So it's like a bubble. Chitraketu Maharaj also that pastime. It will burst. What are you attached to so much in this world that you think is yours? There's nothing really. Everything is temporary. It will all change. In just a few decades, so many people we know will die, and then we are also in the queue. So it's like that, in this way. Don't think of this life as something you have to accomplish a lot of things materially, because nothing will last and you will be gone from the situation. So just focus on the spiritual. So, and everybody has to fly their own plane, as Prabhupada said. So we have to take care of our spiritual life. Of course, we preach and we want others also to do good in spiritual life. So we ask, but nobody can force anybody, because everybody has their free will. Okay. So you have to become like, realize that in the mind and then move on. O son of the Kurus, when Brahma saw that in spite of the presence of the sages of great potency, there was no sufficient increase in population. So population was not increasing, despite being there sages. So he was thinking, how can your population increase? Brahma thought to himself, alas, it is wonderful that in spite of my being scattered all over, there is still insufficient population throughout the universe. There is no other cause for this misfortune but destiny. Like some countries like Canada, everywhere the population is increasing, in China and India. And in some countries like Canada and I don't know, United States it's increasing, but they are predicting that the population is going to decline. So anyway, while he was thus absorbed in contemplation, was observing the supernatural power, the two other forms were generated from his body. They are still celebrated as the body of Brahma. We have Manish Kumar on the call. Let's see, Manish Kumar is there or not. Yeah, he's there, okay.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So he was contemplating how to increase the population. Then two other forms were generated from his body. Two bodies came out of the body of Brahma. One had a mustache and the other had swollen breasts. No one can explain the source of their manifestation, and therefore until today they are known as the Kayam, or the body of Brahma, with no indication of their relationship as his son or daughter. The two newly, like they say Adam and Eve, like in the Christianity they say something like that. The two newly separate bodies united together in a sexual relationship. Out of them, the one who had the male form became known as the Manu, named Swayambhuva, and the woman became known as Shatarup, the queen of the great soul, Manu. Thereafter, by sex indulgence, they gradually increased generations of population one after another. So that chart shows how Swayambhuva, Manu, and Shatarup, and their children, and then their children, like that. It goes on. O son of Bharat, in due course of time, he begot in Shatarup 5 children, 2 sons, Priyavrat and Uttanapad, and 3 daughters, Akuti, Devahuti, and Prasuti. The father Manu handed over his first daughter Akuti to the sage Ruchi, the middle daughter Devahuti to the sage Kardama, and the youngest Prasuti to Daksha. From them, all the world filled with population. So this is one function, like we say the body grows, The body is born, then it grows, then it is maintained, then it produces some byproducts, then it dwindles, and it finally vanishes. These are the six. This is like every species they reproduce and then produce more of their own kind. Like that. Mosquitoes also multiply, and then their sons or children, daughters, they became further. And in this way, the population increases. The history of the creation of population of universe is given herewith. Brahma is the original living creature in the universe, from whom were generated the Manu Swayambhuva and his wife Shatarup. From Manu, 2 sons and 3 daughters were born, and from them all the population in different planets has sprung up until now. So, he is Manu, is the from which Manav, the word Manav comes from Manu, is the first kind of human being. Therefore, Brahma is known as the grandfather of everyone, after Brahma, of course. And the personality of Godhead, being the father of Brahma, is known as the great grandfather of all living beings. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita as follows. Vayur yamognir varuna sashankaha prajapatistvam prati prapitamahascha namo namaste stu sahasra kritva punascha bhuyopi namo namaste. You are the Lord of air, the supreme justice Yam, the fire and the Lord of rains. You are the moon, you are the great grandfather. Therefore I offer my respectful obeisances unto you again and again. This is in the universal form chapter where Arjuna sees the universal form. The appearance of Lord Varaha. Okay, next chapter. Shishuka Vacha Nishamya Vacham Vadato Mune Punyatamam Nipa Bhuya Papricha Kaurvya Vasudeva Kathadrita. Sri Shukdev Goswami said, O king, after hearing all these most virtuous topics from sage Maitreya, Vidura inquired further on the topics of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which he adored to hear. So Vidura, being a pure devotee, he likes to hear about Krishna. The word Adrita is significant because it indicates that Vidura had natural inclination for hearing the transcendental message of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that he was never fully satisfied, though continuing to hear those topics. He wanted to hear more and more so that he could be more and more blessed by the transcendental message. So not satisfied in bhakti. He wants to, like you have affection, then you always want to be in the company of that person because you have affection for somebody. So you want to be in the company of that person. Similarly, the devotee wants to be in the company of Krishna. And one way to be in the company of Krishna is to hear about him. So because by hearing about him, you like to be associated with Krishna. So they have love, so they like to be. They are never satisfied. They always want to hear. And like the gopis were hankering for Krishna's return from Mathura because they wanted to be with Krishna. So they were remembering Krishna more. Actually, we may say they were in distress because Krishna left. But that distress gives increased remembrance of Krishna. And that increased remembrance gives bliss. You can say like that. The increased remembrance of Krishna gives them bliss. So that's why we say that's transcendental ecstasy of separation. In separation there is distress, but in distress there is bliss. Because distress one becomes more like close to Krishna. So because of the remembrance of mind. That's why we can say that they are happy. It's difficult to understand like that. Okay. Vipralamba Bhav. Vidurvacha Savai Swayambhuva Samrat Priya Putra Swayambhuva Pratilabhya Priyam Patnim Kim Chakara Tato Mune. Vidura said, O great sage, what did Swayambhuva, the dear son of Brahma, do after obtaining his very loving wife? O best of the virtuous, the original king of kings, Manu was a great devotee of the personality of Godhead Hari, and thus it is worth hearing of Manu's sublime character and activities. Please describe them. I am very eager to hear. Srimad Bhagavatam is full of transcendental topics of the personality of Godhead and his pure devotees. In the absolute world, there is no difference in quality between the Supreme Lord and his pure devotees. No difference in quality means they are both Satchidananda Vigraha. Therefore, hearing the topics of the Lord and hearing of the character and activities of pure devotee have the same result, namely the development of devotional service. So when we hear about the lives of the great souls like Raghunath Das Goswami, Narottam Das Thakur, it is equivalent to hearing of the Lord because their activities are in relationship with the Lord. Whatever they are doing is all devotional service. So it is as good as hearing about the Lord, as Prabhupada says here. Because all his actions are for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. For the pure devotees, all actions are for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. So, hearing about the lives of great devotees connects us with the Supreme Lord. So that's why we should hear about the lives of Jiva Goswami, Narottam Das Thakur, Gopal Bhatt, like that, all the devotees. And it's thus, by example they are showing also. Like Lilamrita, Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita is as good as reading Bhagavad Gita because it is, you could say that Prabhupada's life, it is describing Prabhupada's life and how he spread Krishna consciousness, movement, his qualities, whatever his teachings are, everything. Okay. Persons who hear, okay, this nice, looks like nice verse. Shrutasya pumsam suchirashramasya nanvanjasa surubhir idito arthaha tat gunanushravanam mukunda padaravindam hrideshu yesham. Persons who hear from a spiritual master with great labor and for a long time must hear from the mouths of the pure devotees about the character and activities of pure devotees. Pure devotees always think within their hearts of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, who awards his devotees liberation. So the deity we see outside is the same deity we can visualize in our heart. Like Gaur Nitai, Radha Natabar, we should feel that the same deity is there in my heart. And when the deity is there, the lotus feet of the deity is also there in the heart. So we can remember the beautiful form of the Lord. And then we have paintings also describing activities, so Leela. So it may sound a little artificial, but that we are trying to remember artificially. In the beginning it is like that. Then automatically when love will manifest, it will become spontaneous. Because it is natural for the living entity to think of Krishna. As Prabhupada says, this chanting is not an artificial imposition on the mind. So it is So in the beginning it is Vaidhi and the rules and regulations, and then it becomes Raganuga. Transcendental students are those who undergo great penance in being trained by hearing the Vedas from a bona fide spiritual master. Not only must they hear about the activities of the Lord, but they must also hear about the transcendental qualities of the devotees who are constantly thinking of the lotus feet of the Lord within their heart. A pure devotee of the Lord cannot be separated from the lotus feet of the Lord for even a moment. Undoubtedly, the Lord is always within the heart of all living creatures, but they hardly know about it because they are deluded by the illusory material energy. The devotees, however, realize the presence of the Lord within the heart, and therefore they can always see the lotus feet of the Lord there. Such pure devotees of the Lord are as glorious as the Lord. They are in fact recommended by the Lord as more worshipable than He Himself. Worship of the devotee is more potent than the worship of the Lord. It is therefore the duty of transcendental students to hear descriptions of pure devotees from similar devotees of the Lord, because one cannot describe the Lord or his devotee unless one happens to be a pure devotee himself. Okay. Any comments anybody has? This verse. What does Prabhupada say in this verse? Anybody like to say? What are the main points in the purport?
That the students of who are wanting to progress in the path of bhakti should hear about the activities of the Lord and also the activities of the pure devotees who are always thinking about the Lord. And with hearing about the devotees, we actually know how to surrender to Krishna. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Krishna said, "You surrender to me." That's a big statement, but how do we surrender to Krishna? That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes show with his devotees and different pure devotees, and himself, because he came in the form of a devotee, to show us how to surrender. That makes it easy. We have been given guidelines. And Krishna says the worship of his devotees is better than his worship. Right? So Krishna also likes to hear about his pure devotees, so he's present also in the katha of his pure devotees. Aradhanam sarvesham Vishnu aradhanam param tasmat paratram devi tadiyanam savarchanam. So Shivji is saying to Parvati that out of all types of worship of Vishnu is the best, but better than the worship of Vishnu is the worship of his devotees. So if we glorify devotees, then Krishna is very pleased. So if we glorify Srila Prabhupada and all pure devotees, then Krishna is very easily pleased.
Yes. Okay. Anything else?
And if we become a pure devotee, then we can explain properly about the Lord, and our katha is more pure. Purity is the force, because all of Krishna's knowledge is realized within the heart by Krishna only. Cannot be done in a scholarly manner, right? Reading scriptures and but if you're not pure, then you will. Whatever comes out of your mouth is not fully correct. It's not realized knowledge, and it cannot transform the hearts of others. So if you really want to, help others, become a pure devotee first.
Anybody else like to say anything? Okay, go to the next verse. Yeah, go ahead. Did I hear somebody say something? Preeti, you want to say something?
Yeah. No, I think Mataji has said everything. I was just reminding that one words I was listening. When Lord Kapila instructed devotees, and also he's talking about the pure devotees, those who are just attached to the devotional service and engage themselves in the serving Lord, and even the pure devotees never desire to any liberation or never want to desire to become one. They are always feeling satisfied and happy in glorifying the Lord and always glorifying his pastimes and his activities. Um, they always carry Lord in their heart. So if we hear katha and if we hear from the pure devotees, so the hearer also purifies by hearing from the lips of pure devotees, like the Sukdev Goswami, he said the Bhagavatam. So, or from the lips of the Sukdev Goswami, then everybody, those who are listening at the bank of Ganga, I think, and so everybody get purified. So, if we hear from pure devotees, our anarthas from our heart, it all cleansed. Yeah, because they always their mind and their because their mind, words, and body are dedicated to the Lord only. So, yeah, just remind that words.
Okay.
Prabhuji, any example of a pure devotee, reading and other listening and the heart transform that you can think of?
Some pure devotee speaking.
Prabhuji, you're
I
mute
think
if you're saying something.
Sorry. Yeah. The question is, what is the question? Any example of a pure devotee transforming somebody's life?
Yeah, I've heard.
Any example?
Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
Am I audible to anyone?
Yeah. Yes, we can hear you.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, we can hear.
Maybe you can't hear us.
Okay.
Am I not audible to you, Prabhuji?
You are audible.
No, I was saying about I don't know if somebody had discussed because I couldn't hear anyone. So I was saying that Janish Prabhu was asking, then I was reminded Narad Muni, who changed many lives, like Rigari's life, Prahlad Maharaj, when he listened, he becomes a great devotee. Yeah, and I think that Narad Muni was also hearing from those who are staying with him for 4 months, I think. And then he also become a Narad Muni himself. So
Yeah, I think pretty much every devotee has been converted to a devotee by Sravanam first. Like Prahlad Maharaj also heard from Narad Muni. Like it has to start from Shravanam, like hearing from the Guru.
Like Srila Prabhupada also, right? He transformed many people's lives by giving classes. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhuji. I was just trying to, get some context as well if I want to, give an example to someone else. So thank you.
Like we also took up chanting, or we are chanting Hare Krishna, and we are trying to follow because somebody was.
I love you, Prabhuji. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we are reading Prabhupada. Prabhupada is talking to all of us through his purport. And all the devotees here on the call, they are sharing their thoughts. So we actually help each other become more Krishna conscious. That's the purpose of devotee association, is to help each other become more Krishna conscious. To inspire each other in service, to inspire in sharing the knowledge with others. We want to do a service to please Krishna, and for that we need inspiration that comes from devotee association. So, mitho, parasparanukathanam.
Pavanam Bhagavati Yasha, Mithorater Mitho Tushter Nivritar Mithapana.
Okay. You want to tell what it means?
That, yeah, well, I can paste the verse. It says that we should we should know how to associate with the devotees of the Lord by gathering with them and chanting the glories of the Lord. This process is most purifying. As devotees develop their loving friendship, they feel mutual happiness and satisfaction. And by encouraging one another, they are able to give up material sense gratification, which is the cause of all suffering. So when devotees meet, they should talk about Krishna, Makchitta Madgata Pran, because that's only talking about Krishna can relieve other person's distress. And Guhyam Akheti Prachati, they can share confidential information, give suggestions, how to improve, help each other. And when they develop this taste in discussing Hari Katha, then they'll be able to give up, the lower taste of sense gratification. And they will feel very joyful in their friendship and Sangha.
Yeah, this is like we have this Skype call. It's just to discuss about Krishna with all of you. Okay, so because we can't meet in person, so we have used technology. Many calls are there, like devotees have so many conference calls and so many things all over the world, which is a blessing because you don't have to go anywhere. You can just, or if you are living in temple or close to temple, then you can come. Like once we have our new temple, and all of you are close to new temple, then we can all meet in the temple and just every day some devotees can give class. Be nice in person to do kirtan. Come for Manglarti.
Yes, that would be nice, but to go into the whole morning program, it's very purifying. Heard many devotees, every day they do that. Nadesham Prabhu also. He had said about Dravida Prabhu also. He never missed one Mangal Aarti in his life.
Yeah, see the deity in the morning. Very auspicious to see the Lord.
And dancing in front of the deities and Tulsi Aarti.
Nice program. Shri Shuka Uvacha. Okay, we'll read. Iti Bhruvanam Viduram Vinitam Sahasra Shirshnas Charonapadhanam Prarishtaro Bhagavad Kathayam Praniyamanu Munir Abhyachashta. Sri Shukdev Goswami said, the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna was pleased to place his lotus feet on the lap of Vidura because Vidura was very meek and gentle. Sri Krishna was pleased to place his lotus feet on the lap of Vidura because Vidura was very meek and gentle. The sage Maitreya was very pleased with Vidura's words and being influenced by his spirit, he attempted to speak. Okay, so after Swayambhuva Manu's marriage, what happened? He had asked, and so now Maitreya is telling Vidura. Of course, Sukdev Goswami is telling Parikshit. The word Sahasra, Sirshnaha, is very significant. One who has diverse energies and activities and a wonderful brain is known as the Sahasra Sirshnaha. This qualification is applicable only to the personality of Godhead and Sri Krishna and no one else. The personality of Godhead was pleased to dine sometimes with Vidura at his home, and while resting he placed his lotus feet on the lap of Vidura. Maitreya was inspired by the thought of Vidura's wonderful fortune. The hairs on Maitreya's body stood on end, and he was pleased to narrate the topics of the personality of Godhead with great delight. So devotee is very happy to see that other devotees are getting mercy and reciprocation from the Lord. So Maitreya was feeling very happy, just remembering that Krishna used to go to Vidura's home for dinner, and then after dinner, uh, when he was resting, he would place his lotus feet on the lap of Vidura, and maybe Vidura was massaging his lotus feet. So he was remembering how fortunate Vidura was. Vidura is. Okay. We can stop here. Let's see. Okay, so we can read about Nityananda, Lord Nityananda. So I wanted to see if there is some. Hare Associates of Lord Nityananda, or we can, let's see. Maybe that Abhiram Thakur's pastime. We read it in Gopal Ji also. Abhiram Thakur and what was the speciality of Abhiram Thakur? Yeah.
Jai Mangal whip he had. If he whip someone with that, he would get pure love for Krishna. And when he bows down, if somebody is not a pure devotee, or if the deity is not pure or real, then the deity would break and the person would die if he's not a pure devotee.
Yeah. So did he not? Okay. Did Abhiram Thakur go and? Okay, let's see. So everybody was very afraid because if you're not a pure devotee and he bows down to you. So three characteristics of Abhiram Thakur, as you described. He had a whip called Jai Mangal, and by whipping somebody, they would become ecstatic in love of Godhead. They would chant Hare Krishna. He would bow down to somebody, and if that person had material desires, he would die. And the third is if he bowed down to a deity, and if the deity was not really bona fide, then it would crack. So everybody was very afraid that Abhiram Thakur, they don't want Abhiram Thakur to bow down. So let's see. We'll read a little bit from this. It's from Gopalji only. Abhiram Thakur is perhaps the most prominent follower of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. According to Srila Kavi Karnapur, Abhiram Thakur is the incarnation of Sridam Sakha. So everybody in Krishna Lila came in Gaur Lila. So he is the Sridam, he is the younger brother of Radharani.
Right.
The chief cowherd boy in Krishna Lila. So he was Krishna's friend also, younger brother of Radharani. His pastimes were described in simple Bengali verse by his disciple, Sri Tilak Ramdas, in a book called Sri Abhiram Lilamrita. In the 4th chapter, the author reveals how he was able to write. So Abhiram Thakur's pastimes are described in a book called Sri Abhiram Lilamrita. Sri Tilak Ramdas was his disciple. My Guru, Abhiram Thakur, came to me while I was resting and said, wake up, O disciple, hear my words. I want you to write about my pastimes. I touched my head to Guru's lotus feet, and at that time all of his pastimes appeared to me. Like yesterday we were also discussing about Vrindavan Das Thakur, how he went to Denur and then Nityananda Prabhu wanted some betel nut or something like that, and immediately Haritaki, and immediately Vrindavan Das Thakur gave him, and Nityananda Prabhu said, how did you manage to bring it so quickly? He said, I have saved it. I had saved it in the anticipation that you'll ask for it, so I had saved it with me. Nityananda Prabhu said, no, you should not do this. One should not hoard and one should not save for, you should depend on Krishna, something like that. He said that. In the renounced order of life, one should not accumulate and save. And then Vrindavan Das Thakur, he chastised him and he said, no, now you stay here and you just preach in this area. So apparently he was angry, but it was a blessing in disguise. And Vrindavan Das Thakur, by the mercy of Lord Nityananda, all the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya manifest within him, in his heart, and he wrote the Chaitanya Bhagavat. That's what yesterday we were reading about. So, by the mercy of the spiritual master, all the purports of the Vedas are revealed into the heart. One who has implicit faith in Krishna and the spiritual master, everything is revealed within the heart. Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashito. We are saying that by mercy of Srila Prabhupada, then all the Divya Gyan is revealed in the heart. So this is all the pastimes appeared to me. The following story, adapted from chapter 15 of that book, describes how Abhiram Thakur tested the newborn sons of Lord Nityananda. He wanted to test whether they are pure devotees. You don't have to speculate, just bring Abhiram Thakur. Whether somebody is a pure devotee or not, we cannot know. So just bring Abhiram Thakur and have him bow down to that person. If nothing happens, then that person is a pure devotee. Otherwise, the person will die. So everybody was very afraid. When Abhiram Thakur, he also was going to bow down to Raghunandan, I think, Raghunandan and also Gopal Guru. Gopal Guru also, he was a little boy. They were in anxiety. Yeah?
Yes, Prabhu, that's correct.
They were in anxiety. That, oh, this Abhiram Thakur will come and then what will happen? But nothing happened because they were both pure devotees. I think they put him on the lap or something like that. Abhiram Thakur was a very powerful personality. It is said that he would sometimes test the authenticity of a Shaligram Shila or a deity by offering obeisances. If they were not genuine, they would break. He had other uncommon powers as well. On one occasion, Abhiram Thakur met Nityananda Prabhu on the bank of the Ganga, near to the home of Nityananda Prabhu. Nitai offered Abhiram a seat. They embraced and both sat down. Nitai said, "Oh brother Abhiram, what is your desire? Why have you come to my home?" "I want to see your son." Hearing this, Nityananda became happy. However, when Nityananda Prabhu showed his son, Abhiram offered obeisances to the child and immediately the child died. So Nityananda Prabhu's son died. When Nityananda Prabhu's wives Vasudha and Janava heard the news, they both fainted. Because, the mother cannot tolerate that the child has died. Nityananda then placed the body of the child in the Ganga and they all took bath. Sometime later, another child was born and again Abhiram Thakur came. As before, when Abhiram offered his obeisances, the child died. Everyone was astonished, thinking, what is Abhiram's purpose? In this way, every time a child was born, Abhiram would come, offer obeisances, and the child would die. It was like that story I was talking about in my class, that Narad Muni went and chanted Hare Krishna to anybody, that person was dying. So, no invitation. Although Nityananda Prabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Balaram, still while acting out his human-like pastimes, he externally became very unhappy, seeing all of his sons die. So, just like Lord Ram is very distressed when Sita is kidnapped, right? She's crying, like a human-like, somebody whose wife has been kidnapped. Like, he's the Supreme Lord. He knows where Sita is, but he's frantically searching for Sita in every direction. But he's not able to find Sita. So how can that be? He's the Supreme Lord, but he's acting human-like. He externally became very unhappy, seeing all of his sons die. And he does like that so we can relate to him more. Krishna's pastimes, we can get some emotion. Because if he just acted as God, there would be no pastime only. Right? So Ram could have killed Ravana just by stopping his heart. And everything would be over. Then there would be no elaborate pastime of going to Lanka and everything. Then the story, Ramayana, would be just like not even one page. So, to keep us absorbed, the Lord performs his pastimes and creates some suspense. Therefore, when the next child was born, Nitai thought to himself, if Abhiram does not come, my child will live. Nityananda Prabhu invited many guests for the festive occasion, but he did not invite Abhiram Thakur. Seeing that Abhiram was not there, Advaita Acharya inquired from Nityananda, why have you not invited Abhiram? Because every time he would come and offer obeisances, the son would die. That would give distress to Vasudha and Janava. Nityananda Prabhu replied, Abhiram has made me bereft of sons, so I will not invite him. I have told all of the boatmen not to bring him across the Ganga in their boats. During the time of festival for the birth of Nityananda Prabhu's latest son, Abhiram and his wife Malini were staying at Krishnanagar. Vakreshwar Pandit came to see them. Malini offered him a seat, and Vakreshwar inquired from Abhiram, Nitai is performing a festival on the occasion of the birth of his son. You are the Pradhan Gopal, the leader of cowherd boys. Is he inviting you or not? So he was given the information. Nityananda Prabhu said, don't bring Abhiram, any boatman. None of the boatmen should bring Abhiram on the boat. Then Vakreshwar Pandit went to Abhiram's home and said, hey, there is a newborn, and you have not gone there. So he has invited everybody. Is he inviting you or not? Abhiram laughed. No, he is not inviting me. Vakreshwar humbly told Abhiram, without your presence, this ceremony cannot be performed properly. Although he is not inviting you, you should still go. How can I go without an invitation? Malini then said, Abhiram is a Rakhal, a cowherd boy. Such cowherders have no abhiman, false ego. He is not finding fault with Nityananda Prabhu for not inviting him. Abhiram then told Vakreshwar, oh brother, I'll go there later. After Vakreshwar left, Abhiram conceived a plan. He bade Malini goodbye and started off saying, Gaura Hari ki jai. He went to the bank of Ganga and said to boatmen, take me across. The boatman looked at Abhiram Thakur and inquired, who are you, sir? Give me your name and I will start the journey. If I take the wrong person across, then Nityananda Prabhu will be angry with me. So Nityananda Prabhu had given instruction not to take him. Abhiram replied, why does he want to restrict this person from crossing? He didn't know that Nityananda Prabhu had restricted him from crossing the Ganga. The boatman said, Nityananda Prabhu is miserable and lamenting for his lost children. He told me there is one person named Abhiram Thakur. So that boatman had not seen Abhiram Thakur before. So he's saying, are you that same Abhiram Thakur? He is very powerful. If he offers obeisances to my son, then the child will die. Saying this, Nityananda Prabhu told me not to bring that person across. I think you are that same Abhiram Thakur. Out of fear of Nityananda Prabhu, the boatman then put water in his boat and made it sink. Hearing that Abhiram Thakur had come, all the other boatmen also filled their boats with water and sank them. So nobody wanted. Abhiram Thakur then took some cloth and threw it in the river. The cloth floated, and sitting on it, Abhiram crossed the river. He is a yogi, mystic yogi. Seeing the people became astonished and ran to tell Nityananda Prabhu. Although Nitai became worried, he took all of the Mahants who were present at the festival and went to meet Abhiram Thakur. Abhiram saw that all of them performing ecstatic kirtan and coming towards the bank of Ganga to meet him. Abhiram then began playing his flute and he lost external consciousness. This was the same, right? Yesterday we were hearing how when Lord Chaitanya asked Nityananda Prabhu to go to Bengal, Navadvip, from Jagannath Puri, and they were going on their way. It was this Ramdas, who is also known as Abhiram Gopal Thakur, and he was in a trance, and what did he do? Abhiram, he stood in the threefold bending form of Krishna for 9 hours. He was so absorbed. And right?
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't mute faster. Yeah, he was standing in threefold bending form.
Yeah, for 9 hours. And then all the devotees were doing kirtan around him. So when they came together, Abhiram embraced all of them with ecstatic love while his hair stood on end. So is Sridham, with whom Krishna plays. Nitai brought Abhiram into his home. Abhiram told him, I am very hungry. Please give me some prasad. Nitai gave him a seat in a room, and Vasudha and Janava happily brought him nice prasad, or sweet rice, fancy rice, okay. Many opulent dishes. As much prasad as they brought, Abhiram ate it until he had finished everything in the house. Seeing that he had eaten everything, Nitai said, Dandavats to your pastimes. Who can understand you? In Vraj Lila, you are Sridham. Have you forgotten our loving relationship? In Vraj, we all shared prasad together. So Balram is also coward boy. And this Abhiram, so he says, you remember how we used to share our food? But now, forgetting all of that, you are taking all of the prasad alone. In Vraj, we would always share whatever fruits we got. What sort of behavior is that you are taking all of the prasad alone? Abhiram listened and said, my nature is that of a cowherd boy. First I take, then I give to others. My behavior is that of Vraj. Knowing my nature and activities in Vraj, how can you say that I took all of the prasad? Go and see your pots. Then Abhiram performed Achman. Nityananda Prabhu went to see the pots, and he found that double the original amount of prasad was there. Nitai then happily embraced Abhiram. Abhiram said, oh brother, you should feed all the Mahans. The Mahans then happily took prasad and shouted, Hari, Hari, finished. They all performed Achman. Then Nitai gave them Tambula in a place to take rest. Abhiram Thakur said, Nitai, you have celebrated a festival for the birth of your son. What sort of son do you have? Please bring him and I will offer my obeisance to him. He said, please bring your son out. I want to offer my pranam. Hearing this, everyone became worried. Nityananda Prabhu's wives, Vasudha and Janava, approached Abhiram and humbly said, this time, please give protection to our child. Don't let us be criticized for not having a son. If you offer obeisances to our son, then he will die. Every time this is what has happened. If you do this again, then he will also die. Abhiram said, why are you fearing? You don't understand. I am offering my obeisances to test the child. If he is Swayam Swarup, the Lord's personal manifestation, then he will survive my obeisances. Hearing Abhiram's words, Nityananda Prabhu became happy and brought his son before Abhiram. Abhiram Thakur offered his obeisances and the child laughed. Abhiram became very happy and offered his obeisances a second and a third time just to test the child. He saw this child was Jagat Priya, dear to the entire universe. Abhiram took the child on his lap and began to dance. He then told all of the Mahants, so that those of you who did not see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could again have the opportunity to see him. The Lord has reappeared in the form of Veerabhadra Prabhu. Lord Balram has appeared as Lord Nityananda Prabhu, and as the Supreme Lord is Sarvagya. Hence, he is certainly understood and in fact inspired the behavior. Okay. So, the nature of the Lord is that he likes to see his devotees glorified more than himself. Therefore, to glorify his devotee Abhiram Thakur and also his son Veerabhadra Prabhu, Lord Nityananda inspired Abhiram Thakur to act in such an unusual way. Veerabhadra is the incarnation of Shirodakshay Vishnu. So, Kavi Karnapur has written. Okay, so he possessed a whip named Jaimangal. Anyone who was touched by this whip would immediately experience transcendental ecstasies of prema. One day Srinivas Acharya visited Abhiram Thakur, who gave him 3 lashes with his whip. Abhiram's wife Malini stopped her husband from hitting him again, saying that Srinivas was just a young lad who won't be able to tolerate the effects of divine love. Nevertheless, Srinivas Acharya, who was very dear to Abhiram and received many blessings from him, though not his initiated disciple, he was like a disciple to him. The Jaiva Mangal whip is still held in the Krishnanagar temple. Okay. Where is the pastime of he coming to offer obeisance to Guru Gopal or Raghunandan? It's in the Chaitanya Bhagavat.
You can control F on this page and see if
It is there. Yeah. Yeah. Gopal Guru. If Abhiram Thakur would offer his obeisances to anyone other than Shali, okay. One time Abhiram Thakur came to Srikhanda wanting to meet Raghunandan Thakur. He is the son of Mukunda, who was offering that laddu to Gopal. And he made Gopal eat. So Raghunandan, Mukunda Das was aware of his reputation and thus told the Thakur that Raghunandan wasn't there. Feeling disappointment, Abhiram departed. When Raghunandan heard that Abhiram Thakur had come to meet him, he ran to catch up with the Thakur. I think they had hid him somewhere, right? Maybe he was in the forest or somewhere. Finally, he met. Finally, he met him at Bodhdanga, where they danced together in ecstasy. When Raghunandan was dancing, his nupur came off and fell down at Ekahat, where Kaliya Krishna used to do his bhajan. This nupur is still being worshipped. Okay. Gopal Guru was also similarly tested by Abhiram Thakur when he was only a small boy living with Mahaprabhu in Puri. By the mercy of Mahaprabhu, who invested his potency in Gopal Guru, the boy emerged unscathed. One day, while in a state of rapture in remembrance of Sri Krishna, Abhiram Thakur, in the mood of a cowherd boy, desired to play the flute. In the madness of ecstatic love, he began to search in all directions for one. So he was looking for a flute. He wanted to play a flute, like Krishna. Then he saw before him a large trunk of a tree, which not even 16 men could lift. Out of this, he fashioned a flute and began to play it. Ramdas, one of the chief branches, was full of fraternal love of God. He made a flute from a stick with 16 knots. Okay, so this is about Abhiram Thakur. We can read about. It's 8:48. We'll stop here. We can hear some other thing about Lord Nityananda Prabhu tomorrow. So thank you very much for your association. Anything else you would like to say?